Okay. Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a productive and a great time at Ignite so far. Yep. Thank you for joining this session. We're going to talk on management and operations. We're going to be covering a gamut of topics filled with demos. And we also have a special guest, a customer from Northern Trust, to join us and tell us about their story. I'm Shiva Sivakumar. I lead product for observability at Microsoft, which also includes Azure Monitor. So when we talk to customers, the thing we almost always hear is they want to innovate faster. They want to deliver great experiences for their customers, and at the same time, reducing the costs. Now, AI provides new opportunities to do this. And however, the complexity in any large organization or even a mid-sized organization makes this very difficult. But ops teams that are highly productive are responding faster to these challenges, growing business needs, and helping their customers' AI strategies succeed. Microsoft Adaptive Cloud is designed to drive a unified, consistent approach to manage our entire IT environment, starting with our cloud platform, that's Azure, to other clouds, to edge, hybrid, and all the way to your IoT devices. This approach shifts an organization from a reactive posture to a more proactive one, right? Enabling you to build scale with confidence because you have that flexibility to run your applications anywhere, safeguard your IT environment, and provide a common platform to streamline operations. Run AI across all your data and innovate on top of that. Now, we'll dive into each of these areas as we go through the presentation. Now, these are the three pillars of the Adaptive Cloud approach. Our Adaptive Cloud platform builds on top of Azure Arc as a foundation. Azure Arc is an extension of Azure Resource Manager, and it enables you to project your services from your hybrid, edge, multi-cloud, and IoT devices to Azure Resource Manager. This enables you to run cloud services on the edge, manage your entire data estate, and run AI anywhere. Focus for today is a top area, which is management and operations. We'll briefly touch upon how management and the interlink to security products, with AI simplifying all these experiences. But having central visibility and security is the most common scenario for our customers in the Adaptive Cloud. So these are the different areas, broadly speaking, in the management space. So you have configuration and management and governance, resiliency and observability, built-in security and control, and lastly, the universal AI assistant, such as the Copilot for Azure. Now, we have several demos to cover each of these in more detail, each of these areas. So starting with the first area, I would like to invite Meagan McCrory to walk us through configuration and management.
Awesome. Thanks, Shiva. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Meagan McCrory, and I'm a product manager on the Azure Arc platform team, and I'm excited to be here today. Let's jump right in. And so when it comes to operations and management, one thing that we know is that the majority of our customers are not solely running on Azure. The vast majority of customers are running on other public clouds. They have on-prem estate. They might have resources at the edge. And so for us, what we're really focused on is how can we simplify the operations and management that you have to do on a day-to-day basis to ensure that your workloads are secure, updated, and remain healthy. And so the way that we really are focused on this is we have a suite of management services in Azure, things like Azure Policy, that helps with regulation standards. You can apply updates through Update Manager. And so we basically have this suite of services that you can actually leverage for both your Azure estate and your non-Azure estate. So now you have consistency where you can streamline all of your operations, and so you don't have to learn how to use 5 different tools for just performing one task based off of where your environment is hosted. And so what's best about all of this, too, is that all of these services we're enhancing with Copilot. And so based off of where your environment's running, it doesn't matter, because now you get to take advantage of the enhancements that we're making with AI and Copilot for these management services. So with that, let's actually jump into some demos. All right. So here we are. So here I am on the Azure Arc portal, and we can actually see here I've got the, I'm on the multi-cloud connectors, and so here I can actually see I've got one connector already created. So what this allows you to do is if you have environments that are hosted on AWS, you can easily create a connector that will actually go and connect your account to AWS for some scenarios. And so here I have a multi-cloud connector, I've got my account ID here, and then I really have 2 sets of services or solutions that I can opt into. The first one is inventory. This is really important because we often hear from customers that I just don't even know what I have running in all of my environments. And so one of the cool things with the multi-cloud connector is that we can actually project all of your resources that you have on your AWS environment to Azure with all of that source cloud metadata. So you get your AWS tags, all of the given properties, all in Azure, which allows for really rich querying capabilities through the Azure Resource Graph. We also have the Arc onboarding solution, and this is really allowing customers to Arc enable their EC2 instances, which are the virtual machines on AWS, at scale. And so today, if you actually are trying to Arc enable your EC2 machines so you have a consistent tool set to manage across your public cloud environments, you typically have to do this manually. But with the public cloud connector, it's super lightweight to set up, and then we can actually go and install that Arc agent on your behalf. So this is something that we're really excited about. If I actually come over here to the Resources tab, this is one where I can actually now see all of the resources that are coming through my multi-cloud connector. And what's great about this, too, is we have this set up to where it's on a periodic sync. And so if you make a change on the AWS side, that change will be reflected here on the Azure side. And so if I actually just filter for an EKS cluster here, I can see all of the given properties for this EKS cluster. So I can see the ARN, I can see the AWS region. And what's interesting is I actually see that this is in EU West 1. I wasn't aware I had anything in EU West 1. I can actually come over to Copilot and I can say, you know what, how many resources do I have where the AWS region is East US or EU West 1? And so what Copilot will do is it will try to go and actually query my environment where the region is EU West 1 for my AWS machine. And so this is cool because now you can leverage Copilot not only to analyze your Azure environment, but you can also use it now to analyze your AWS environment. And so here you can see I've got 10 resources inside of this given region on the AWS side. So this is cool for customers to try out. With that being said, we also can develop now really cool visualizations for both Azure and AWS usage. So here you can actually see I've got the resource count for both my AWS environment. I then have my account for my Azure environment. I can see how many servers I have based off of AWS Azure hybrid. I can even see storage account usage, so I can see my total storage accounts. And so this is really nice because I can now create these visualizations, create the dashboards that I care about and that my leadership cares about, and I can send this out to people. And so this is just one thing to make your lives easier when it comes to inventory of your public cloud environments. Now, if we take a step back and we actually think about EC2 VM that was actually enabled through Azure Arc, you'll actually notice I've got one here. You can see the status is connected. You can see the cloud provider is AWS. And now I have all of these management capabilities, things like monitoring, policies, security, Windows Admin Center. I have 4 pending updates here. So if I actually click on this Updates tab, you'll notice that I have now updates that I can actually apply from Azure to my AWS server. And this was super seamless for me to set up. I now see I have actually one security update, which is a little concerning. I want to make sure that this is pushed out to my virtual machine on the AWS side as soon as possible. And so one thing that I can easily do is I can come through, I can schedule a one-time update. I could also schedule reoccurring updates. But then you can also leverage Copilot to say, you know what, can you actually tell me the number of servers that have security updates that are applied? And what that will actually do is it will return a list of resource IDs for all of your other potential Arc servers that also have security updates. And so now you can actually go and browse to the Azure Update Manager portal to now go and push all of the updates for these given machines that have a security update that was found. The other cool thing that we have been working on our team with regards to sort of Arc and Copilot is we basically have an extensions blade. The extensions are basically what helps our management services run end-to-end, make sure that all of the necessary code is leveraged in order for monitoring to work, in order for change tracking inventory to work. But you'll notice here that I actually have a failed extension. And so what I can do is I can actually say, Copilot, can you help me troubleshoot this? And so what Copilot will do is it's going to ask, why is my extension failed? And so here, hopefully it's going to ask me, so it's basically saying, is this the machine you'd like to troubleshoot? So I'm going to say yes. And so now Copilot has actually given me some troubleshooting steps. It's saying, this is my error. Basically, you should probably uninstall and try reinstalling the extension. It gives me some recommendations. And then it actually says, hey, would you like Copilot to actually go and do this for you? Can Copilot come and reinstall this? And so I'm going to say, yes, that would be awesome. I would love for Copilot to reinstall my extension, so now I don't have to figure out how to do that. So this is something that our team is focused on. We want to boost the number of troubleshooting scenarios that we can support through Copilot. And so now, basically, the start of the installation has begun. I could refresh this, and hopefully it should say deleting here. Yep, it does at the bottom. And so now Copilot has taken the action on my behalf. So another thing that I want to showcase, though, is because we were drilling into a given virtual machine on the Arc server machine, we also have these high-level views. And so something that's new is here on the Overview tab of the Azure Arc page, we have this Snapshots preview, which basically gives you an overview of your given environment. So this is something that we suggest for customers to come take a look at, because you can see what exactly some of the inventory that you have when it comes to your Arc-enabled resources. And then you can also see, are there any performance and health concerns? What are my managed and scheduled updates I need to apply? And so you get a lot of cool information through this new dashboard view that we have. So that way you can kind of take a look at things more at scale versus sort of narrowing into a given Arc server or Kubernetes cluster or whatever your resource might be. The next thing that's really cool, too, is, again, for at-scale management, we have all of these different management services. But one thing that we don't want customers to have to do is have to figure out how to go and onboard to the services one by one. This is sort of what we're having to do today. And so if I am on here, I'm on the Azure Arc Machines page, I can select all of these Arc servers, and I can actually say Enable Services Preview. And what this will do is it actually is going to come and it's going to try where I can actually now onboard to change tracking inventory, Azure Update Manager, Monitoring, and Defender, all from a single place. And so this is really cool because beforehand I was having to go and do this manually, but now I actually have it where I can easily come and onboard to these at scale for all of the machines that I selected. So this is something that we're really excited about. And then last but not least, on the demo side, we're really also excited about the Windows Server management capabilities that we have. And so here you'll notice on the licensing, we have the new Windows Server benefit and licensing. And so if I actually click on a machine here, and if I say activate benefits, what this will be is if for customers who have software assurance, they can basically now use all of these Azure management services at no additional cost. And so for things like pushing out updates, change tracking inventory, machine configuration, Windows Admin Center, the list goes on. And so what's really nice about this is for customers who are already leveraging software assurance, they now get these management services at no additional cost. So definitely check this out if it applies to you. So with that, that's it from the demo side. Let me come back over here to the PowerPoint. And so just for a couple of announcements here, so we've already talked about the Windows Server Management, GA, so that is the software assurance, as well as the server pay-go if you have that subscription. You can now leverage those. You can attest to say that, hey, I have this, and now you get a lot of those management services for free. We also demoed the multi-cloud connector, so that is generally available today for AWS. The Azure Arc Gateway is something that's really cool too. So for those that you have right now, customers have a list of endpoints that they can actually reduce if they want to basically reduce the amount of endpoints on your proxy. And so this is really beneficial for those who are concerned with network security. And so you basically get to be in charge of what endpoints your Arc server or Arc Kubernetes cluster has access to. In addition to that, we also have the Visualize Arc Savings with the Migrate Business Case. This is another great one for those who are using maybe other tools or SCCM, whatever it might be. If you're thinking about moving to Azure Arc, you can basically now use the Azure Migrate Business Case to understand, what are the benefits, what are the savings if I really want to move to use Arc for my management capabilities. And then last but not least, we also took a look at the Azure Extension Troubleshooting Copilot Handler in action. So with that, we also have launched a lot of other things in the past 6 months, like hot patch best practices. Definitely check out our blogs to learn more. But with that, I'm actually now going to hand it back over to Shiva and 𝗬𝗀𝗀𝗀😂 to come and talk more about resiliency and observability. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
There's the clicker.
OK, now we'll talk about observability and resiliency. Azure Monitor is the product, our observability product. And we think about a strategy in 3 broad areas. First is just monitoring just being a part of, a native part of your cloud experience or edge experience across the adaptive cloud. So wherever you go in the portal or in the CLI, monitoring is just there. In some cases, enabled on by default. So it makes it really, really easy to discover, onboard, and use. The second is to give you the visibility into every level of the stack and being able to reason across the stack. So when you need to troubleshoot a problem, you can go up and down the stack to nail down what the problem is. Third is we recognize we're a platform. Microsoft is a platform company. We want to be a great platform where ISVs can come and innovate on our platform. So we have an open and extensible platform in Azure Monitor as well, so where any other third parties can integrate and deliver a first-class experience, as well as each of our customers can build tailored solutions that are unique to their needs. And last but not least is the mission-critical enterprise abilities. This is about security, compliance, privacy, scale, all that stuff. In fact, a majority of our engineering resources investments go in this area. Now, when you look at AI, how can AI improve observability? You can think of it in 3 broad buckets. First is detection. This is a fairly easy to understand. Anomalies happen, and a machine learning system is really good at catching these things and alerting you or taking action on behalf of you. I won't walk through every one of these. I'll just give an example to give a flavor of what these are. A good area is the first item, dynamic thresholds for alerts. Whenever we set an alert, CPU greater than 80% or whatever it is, we always get it wrong because static thresholds never work well. There's either false positives or false negatives. And so this is where a machine learning system can really do well. It can observe your patterns over a period of time, and you can set thresholds based on a deviation from what is normal, so to speak, right? The second area is troubleshooting. This is often, when something goes wrong or you think it's going to go wrong, it's like looking for a needle in the haystack type of problem, looking through metrics, logs, traces. And once again, this is where a machine learning system or AI system can do really, really well, finding the important piece of information that gives you the clue as to what's wrong and maybe even help you fix it, right? So we integrated Copilot in Azure to help you ask natural language questions to diagnose where the problems are or what is anomalous, what has changed, things like that can quickly give an idea of what the problem is or where the problem is. The other thing is we often hear is in our log analytics platform in Azure Monitor, we have a rich set of data in a very powerful language to go mine that information. However, what we hear is, especially for new users, it's a somewhat of a barrier where they have to learn a new language and come up to speed. So initially getting started, customers have repeatedly asked, hey, make this simpler for me. Right? So again, once again, we've integrated with Copilot to generate queries automatically for you. So you put an English statement or question, and we create the query for you. And optimization is a third area where the system can automatically go and do things on your behalf to make things better. One is predictive auto-scaling, where the system can observe your application load based on historical patterns and automatically scale up or down the system to make sure you meet your availability goals and reliability goals. The next one is actually quite interesting as well. This is where we looked at we built this capability in partnership with our Visual Studio team and GitHub teams, where we look at all the profile information and application insights, find anomalies, and automatically able to pinpoint where in the code the problem lies, and also using GitHub Copilot are able to suggest, here is a fix for that performance issue. So we go all the way from the cloud to the code and help you find fixes. So just a taste of what's more to come. There is a lot to do in each of these areas, and where we'll be innovating more and more in the time to come. I'll walk quickly through the announcements. On the left-hand side, what's available now or will soon be available. I'll talk thematically. One area where we've making announcements or releasing capabilities is around Kubernetes, AKS platform and applications built on Kubernetes, just to give a full stack view from the app down to the platform level and network level. So one of the things we are announcing is the ability to auto-instrument with app insights your apps running on Kubernetes, AKS. And we've created a single page, sort of a dashboard-like view, to give a full stack view, which Evgeny will show in a moment, all the way from the platform down to the app, or app down to the platform, and even down to the network layer. Right? Bring some advanced networking insights into the fold, so you can get one view across all of these. Now, not all of them are available just yet. They'll be available in a few weeks. So some are already available, but they should be coming very shortly. The other thing is very important is in the security, network security perimeter, NSP for Azure Monitor. This lets you isolate your environment to a known set of IPs that can access your data in Azure Monitor and prevent data exfiltration, something that is very important for enterprise customers. And that's public preview. And lastly is capability, what I talked about with log alerts. I talked about how Copilot can generate KQL queries for you with a natural language. The other aspect is there's a point-and-click interface as well. Now, so you don't have to start with a query. Start with a simple point-and-click interface, and then go change the query if you need to. So just more simplifications. I'll just talk to a couple of things in the areas we announced in the last 6 months. I talked already about the code optimizations. The other one I want to talk about is, briefly mentioned, is auxiliary logs. This is a third tier to our log analytics component. It's basically designed for managing verbose logs, which you're not going to often look at, but you need to collect and manage them for compliance reasons. Or in the case, there might be a case where you might need it in the future, and you can bring that back into the analytics tier to do more interactive analysis. But you have the comfort of having them stored and managed for you at a much lower cost. With that, I'll hand it to Evgeny to do the demos.
Cool. Thank you so much. So typically, when you're doing observability today, this is what you start with. An alert that came in, something is broken. What do we do about it? So today, I'm going to take you through a whirlwind tour of a lot of these features that Shiva talked about. And we'll start right in our Azure portal. So this alert tells me something is broken with an AKS cluster of mine. So I go and look at the AKS cluster over here. And I start, as I do most of my investigations, by clicking the Insights button and opening container insights. Of course, we have VM insights too, and insights for really most of our services. And sure enough, we see there's this weird sort of CPU spike over here. If you've ever used Container Insights, you'll be familiar with this dashboard. I actually want to show you a revamp to this dashboard that we have announced. And so this is what it will look like very soon here in a couple of weeks. We really took a different approach here. Instead of focusing on raw metrics, we tried to concentrate on the things where typically people see issues. In this case, deployments. And deployment issues typically in the Kubernetes world are identified through nodes and pods. And so very soon you'll be able to play around with this dashboard here yourself and hopefully have a much easier experience getting to your trouble, whatever that may be. I also want to show you that it isn't just in the Azure portal that we have these experiences for you. We can switch over to Grafana, the same one that we set up when we provisioned this Kubernetes cluster. And because Kubernetes is a very open source friendly product, it was born in the open source world, we also provide you a bunch of dashboards here as well. So Shiva, for example, talked about the full stack dashboard that's there. And new here at Ignite are all of these networking dashboards as well as some others. So we'll just have a look at one of these very briefly. We don't have time to go into these in detail. If you'd like to see more, come talk to us at our booth. But you can see kind of the wealth of information and charts that are available to you here to go and explore to really get to the root of your issue. But with that, now that we've done this a little bit, we probably want to take a look at the application side, see how this is impacting our users, not just kind of the infrastructure layer. And so this is Application Insights. This is our APM offering. And traditionally, to get this sort of view, this is called the application map, what we're looking at, we would have had to go and install some SDKs, be it OpenTelemetry or the Application Insights native SDKs. For the container world, for AKS, Azure Kubernetes Services, we are actually announcing something really cool here at Ignite coming in just a couple of weeks, which is the ability to do this without any code whatsoever. So all we do, and I'll just show you this briefly, is run a quick command to enable the feature. And after we do that, in our manifest itself, the same one that we use to deploy our Kubernetes cluster, we say we want to auto-instrument Java and Node. And then we provide our Application Insights connection string. And as soon as we deploy this, everything lights up automatically. I don't need to go and deal with my application code, anything like this. This is right in the actual configuration of the resource that we're deploying. And then we'll get all of those fantastic views that Application Insights provides. And then once we have that, we probably want to eventually go and interact with some logs, because that's where the real deep insights lie. Go and write some queries. And as Shiva mentioned, we traditionally have had KQL mode. You go in, you type your KQL query, get the response back. We now also have the simple mode, which is more of a query builder sort of interface. But after all, this is an AI session. So we'll press Copilot here. And we can type in a query, something like, what is the log analytics query to see the last 10 errors that happened on my cluster? And just for the sake of time, I actually have this one preloaded. And sure enough, we get back a KQL query that we can press Run Query right there and get the results back that we expect. So one of the biggest feedbacks that we have is, hey, please simplify KQL. It's another language to learn all of that. Copilot will help you with this going forward. Now, the last thing I want to kind of close on is where we started, alerts. Certainly, there's static thresholds, as Shiva said. Hey, look at whenever my CPU crosses that 80% threshold or whatever it may be. But that tends to be a static way to do it, right? Your systems change and evolve. And so if I flip over here to a new alert rule that I'm creating, you've probably seen this, but we have this dynamic selector over here. And what the dynamic option will do is actually automatically figure out what the right threshold is, including picking out things like seasonalities. So you can see in this particular metric, there's little spikes that are normal, that are expected. And the dynamic threshold there picked it up. You see those little spikes on the projected threshold as well. And so definitely use this in conjunction with all your traditional observability needs as another ML way to go and explore your system. And so the last thing I will say is, this was a lot, I know. Go check out our blog, come talk to us at our booth, and we'll be happy to give you more. And with that, let's send this over back to Matt to walk you through the rest of this session. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Copilot in Azure. We've seen that a couple of times. My name is Matt Winkler. I have the good privilege of running the product management team for Copilot in Azure. And we've touched on management and governance, resiliency, observability, how we secure, how we connect to all of that. And I'd like to focus a little bit now on what happens when we take all of that goodness and leverage AI to enhance the management experience. Microsoft Copilot in Azure, as you've seen already, is our AI companion that simplifies how you design, operate, optimize, and troubleshoot your apps, infrastructure, and services across clouds and to the edge. We take the powerful constructs of the Azure Resource Model, the Azure Resource Graph, Azure Monitor, Arc, Log Analytics, along with the knowledge expressed across thousands of pages of documentation, health signals, service-specific tuning and troubleshooting, and we surface all of that to you in an experience when you talk to Azure. Are we not seeing slides? Okay, there we go. Okay, all right. So Microsoft Copilot in Azure has been available in preview in the Azure portal and in the mobile app. The same knowledge that's available to developers leveraging GitHub Copilot for Azure is also surfaced. And in Ignite, we're announcing that Copilot in Azure is now available in the CLI as part of AI Shell. AI Shell connects your CLI to Copilot and third-party AIs, and that's in a public preview, and there's a great session tomorrow. We'll show a demo of that in a little bit. Our goal with Copilot in Azure is to assist you as you work to manage and monitor your environments, infrastructure, and services. These are environments that are more diversified, and they're expanding and getting more complex every day. We know that you need to make the right choices to realize the outcomes that your teams need, and we want to put that all in the same place. And at the same time, we know you want to be in control. A core design principle as we've been building Copilot in Azure is for it to be aware of Azure RBAC, permissions, policy that govern your environments. Copilot never has access to anything beyond what the user who is using it has access to. Any action that might have a side effect, we're going to ask you to confirm, and you already saw that in some of the demos today. And we've built Copilot so that you can choose the level of control that you want. If you just want to use it to generate a script, you can. If you want to have it go ahead and run that query for you, it'll do that. And so that really allows you to choose how much control you want to have. And so let's do a quick demo here. I'm going to start. I've got a video for this one. But Copilot's built into the Azure portal, and it's accessible with that Copilot button up top. Once there, you can just talk to Azure. And so we're going to ask about counting some Windows VMs. This reasons over the resource model to construct a query, displays the results in line. It also lets you open that up over in the Resource Explorer, lets you use all of those standard tools. Now, the next thing that I might want to do is I might want to ask a question about a specific resource. We're available and we're aware of where you're at in the portal. And so, hey, there's this Hackathon GPT-1. Is anybody using it? Because it's costing me some money. So I can go ahead and ask, what is the usage on this? It's going to return a whole list of metrics that I can use. It's going to suggest a metric that I might be really interested in and return that. Okay. We can also check if there's any outages that are impacting service health. Oops. And then the last thing that we can do there is we also integrate with all of the forms inside the Azure portal. And so as you're using Copilot, it can actually help filling out the forms. For instance, when you're trying to create a VM and get all of the configuration correctly. Now let's talk a little bit about cost management in Azure. This is one of the most requested features that we have. And it's also one of the most used capabilities in Copilot. And so Copilot can query all of your cost information and present it to you in the way you need it presented. So here I'm asking about the total cost and what subscriptions are driving that usage. Okay, this is going to return that to me. I can look through these. I can see that Trey Research Finance is spending a little bit of money. I can then go ahead and say, hey, what is happening inside that subscription? Let me break this down. Let me understand what's contributing to that. And this is going to do a little bit of thinking. And it's going to come back and it's going to tell me that I'm spending a chunk of my money on virtual machines. right? You can also ask questions about how has this increased, what's going on. I can also look forward, and based upon the resources that I've got deployed, as well as the estimated spend, I can go ahead and project what I'm going to spend in the coming month. And so this takes all of the cost management goodness that's in Azure and moves this into the Copilot experience. So last, we're going to show the Copilot in CLI. And so this is taking Copilot in Azure and bringing it into the CLI. You can learn more at aka.ms/AI shell. And here, let's start with something simple. After I get logged in and pick a subscription, you'll see I'm going to start the AI shell. It's going to give me a chat experience on the left. I can pick what agent I want to use. So I'm going to say Azure. Now I'm going to ask a question like, what's the size of the VM in this resource group? And Copilot in your CLI is designed to help you use the CLI more effectively. So what it's going to do is it's going to think for a little bit, and it's going to help construct the CLI command that I would need to run in order to complete this task of figuring out what is the size. Now, you may want to take that once this generates that, and you may want to take that, put that somewhere else. You may want to put that into a script. You may also want to run it here, and so Copilot's going to help you to fill in the parameters. For instance, the VM name. This is going to generate then the full command that I can take, and I can very easily just post this into the prompt so that I can go ahead and run that. Right? I now see that size. Let's do something a little bit different and a little more complex and say, hey, how can I reduce the size of the VM? And so what you're going to see here is, after this does a little bit of thinking, is this is going to give me the 3 commands that I need to complete this action. Right? This isn't just one command to go and run. And so once this generates the 3 commands, again, similar thing. I could start with this. I could just copy and paste that into an editor. I can go ahead and use replace to fill in the values that are important, such as, hey, this is the size of VM that I want. And then I can go ahead and post that and start running those. Stephen and Damien have a session tomorrow to dive deep into this, and I would encourage you to check that out. So there's a bunch of announcements. I'm not going to read everything that's on the slide. There's been a ton of capabilities that we've added since build. We've added a troubleshooting across all of the major service areas. You've seen some things demonstrated earlier today in terms of connecting to other clouds, in terms of using that with log analytics. It's available in the portal. Please go ahead and check that out. And if you send feedback, it ends up in my inbox, so thank you for that. And with that, what I would like to do is welcome out Tom Jackson from Northern Trust. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, Matt.
Great to see you.
Great to see you.
It's always fun to have a customer here. And so, Tom, why don't you do a quick introduction, tell folks who you are, who Northern Trust is, what y'all are doing.
Sure, yeah, thanks. Tom Jackson. I'm at Northern Trust right now. I'm the chief architect. And we are a wealth asset manager and asset servicing firm. We take care of some of the most successful individuals and families and institutions in the world. And trust is in our name, so it's kind of important to get all these management and security things right. Before this, I was at the Federal Reserve, where I had the privilege of serving as a CTO for 3 years, also an organization that cares a little bit about security. And so just excited to be here and see what you guys are launching today and share a little bit about our journey.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about where Northern Trust is at in terms of adopting the cloud, and what's your role in helping figure that out?
Sure, you bet. So we are probably, we reckon, about a third of the way through our cloud journey. And just to give you a sense of what we look like inside a 130-year-old financial service institution, we have regulators around the world. We have probably 1,500, 1,600 production applications. We have about 80 different providers, and we're a multi-cloud company. So we've got a lot of different dynamics going on in that space, and a lot of things you guys are doing are proving to be pretty helpful to what we've got. So my role is, they call me chief architect. I think they should have given everybody with this role a warning label about maybe needing a degree in psychology, therapy, a little bit of sales and influence. But
it's not always a technology problem?
It turns out sometimes the people are important to bring along with you. And so, so that's a lot of what I'm doing, is trying to help bring the people along, and make sure we use the technology and move to cloud safely.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit, how are you incorporating some of the things that we saw today, Azure Arc, Copilot, Monitor, at Northern Trust?
You bet. So we are big buyers of Arc, and one of the reasons why is just the complexity of the environment. We will be a hybrid cloud and multi-cloud company really at the end of our journey, and we certainly will be that in the in-between. And because trust and security is so important to us, we really started with getting the security and management layer set first. Right? So logging, telemetry and observability, and then really making sure that we sort of address that number one concern point. For me, this is my third cloud journey, and one thing that I've learned along the way is that the most important thing to get right is security, security, security. And so 90+% breaches on cloud happen because customers don't do configuration management right, or they don't do identity access management right, or they don't get their talent trained right. So I put all my energy in the first, our team at Northern, we're putting all of our energy really into getting those things right. And then we're taking other people's money out in to keep it safe in the cloud. So,
cool. And so how does Northern Trust leverage operations and management tools to strengthen that security posture?
Sure. So we started with Sentinel for security event management. We moved into the logging and telemetry services. And then we don't actually use all of the tools inside the space. We're a big Terraform shop, but I love where you guys are going with the Terraform integration. It's an infrastructure as code first shop. We have about close to 1,000 controls that we're checking preventatively before we deploy things out. And so, getting that, not compromising on config management, not compromising on identity or where we start. So a lot of our controls and tools are designed to make sure we prevent things from happening, because the amazing thing about cloud is good things happen really fast. And the danger is, bad things can happen really fast too. So we put a lot of energy into the preventative control space.
Okay. I guess lastly, what's your vision and where do you see Northern Trust going in the cloud in the next 12 to 18 months?
Sure. Yeah, we will cross that tipping point of being more than half of our business critical workloads on a secure public cloud in the next 12 to 18 months. And so that keeps me awake at night, making sure that, and our team, making sure we're getting getting all those things that I talked about right, and making sure that people really are equipped and armed. That's one of the things I'm very excited about, is the potential for Copilot to really accelerate, lower the barrier of entry to sort of knowledge about really complex topics. It's another way when you're getting into doing it the cloud way. And so that just accelerates the learning, makes the entry point a little bit lower. And we just think there's going to be tremendous unlocks of potential there.
Awesome.
So.
Well, Tom, thank you. And thanks for coming up, and have a wonderful rest of Ignite.
Thank you. And everybody, good luck on your cloud journey.
All right. So, a couple of things that we talked about earlier. There were themes throughout the conversation today, is really about how Azure can meet you where you're at, whether that's hybrid or multi-cloud or edge, to help you manage and secure those resources anywhere. With Azure Arc, we can connect and unlock benefits to help you enable comprehensive management across the entire stack. And we saw a number of demos that showed that happening both in Azure as well as in some other places. And then throughout this Arc, no pun intended, you also saw powerful new AI capabilities, showing up in things like Copilot, really designed to help you streamline your work and enhance the power of the tools that are available to you in Azure. And so if you liked this session, if you saw things that you're interested in, there are a number of sessions tomorrow, starting out with operate infrastructure across distributed locations with Azure Arc. We talked about the one with CLI and AI Shell and Copilot in Azure. And then we'll close the day out with scaling apps and data with Arc, Kubernetes, and Microsoft Fabric. QR code up here is if you want to see more about Adaptive Cloud and learn about this. Last thing, would love feedback. Feedback from all of you helps us make this better. If there are things that you liked, if there are things you did not like, if there are things that really, really annoyed you, please let us know, because that helps us get better the next time we do this. And with that, we will wrap up. I just want to thank everyone for attending. Thank you for choosing this session. I hope you have a wonderful rest of Ignite.